Right now, somewhere in the world, someone just finished binge-watching an entire show in one sitting. 8 hours. Maybe more. They didn't need to. There was no survival reason. No food at the end of it. No reward except the story itself. And here's the question that should genuinely bother you. Why does your brain do that? Why would evolution build a creature that voluntarily spends thousands of hours consuming events that never actually happened? The answer takes us back roughly 400,000 years, to the exact moment everything changed. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner spent years studying the Juhoansi Bushmen of the Kalahari Desert, one of the last groups on Earth still living something close to the original human lifestyle. And what she discovered split the human day into two completely different worlds. During daylight hours, conversation was almost entirely practical. Who's hunting where? Which plants are ready? Complaints about food sharing. Pure logistics. But the moment the sun went down and the fire came out, something flipped. 81% of nighttime conversation became stories, myths about distant lands, tales of ancestors, jokes that made the whole camp laugh. Wiesner's theory is that firelight itself created an entirely new kind of time, productive social hours that simply didn't exist before humans controlled fire. And inside those hours, something extraordinary started happening to the human brain. Here's the detail that should stop you completely. Sitting around a fire at night actually suppresses melatonin and shifts your circadian rhythm toward evening alertness. Your ancestors weren't just sitting in the dark waiting to sleep. Fire chemically rewired their bodies to stay awake, alert, and social during the exact hours when storytelling happened. In other words, your brain may have been biologically engineered, generation after generation, specifically to want to sit around a fire and listen to stories at night. That craving you feel to watch one more episode before bed? That might be 50,000 generations of firelight programming, still running in a body that no longer needs an actual fire to trigger it. But why would evolution favor storytelling specifically? This is where it gets genuinely wild, and where a 2017 study on the HTA, a hunter-gatherer population in the Philippines, completely changes the picture. Researchers collected dozens of traditional stories from HTA elders and ran them through detailed analysis. And what they found was that nearly 70% of every single story was secretly doing the same job: teaching cooperation. Stories about animals sharing food fairly. Stories punishing greed. Stories rewarding generosity. These weren't just entertainment. They were instruction manuals, disguised as entertainment, training entire camps on how to behave without anyone ever feeling lectured. And here's the part that should genuinely surprise you. Researchers didn't just analyze the content of these stories. They measured what happened in camps that had skilled storytellers versus camps that didn't. Using actual cooperation experiments, real resource-sharing games, they found that camps with more skilled storytellers showed dramatically higher rates of cooperation among members. The presence of a good storyteller wasn't just nice to have. It was literally restructuring how generous an entire group of people behaved toward each other. So naturally, the next question is, did being a good storyteller actually matter for survival? And the answer is almost unbelievable. Researchers asked nearly 300 Asian individuals who they would most want to live with in their camp. Skilled storytellers were nearly twice as likely to be chosen as ideal campmates compared to non-storytellers. Twice as likely. And when researchers compared that to other valuable skills, hunting ability, fishing skill, medicinal knowledge, storytelling beat every single one of them as the most desirable trait in a future neighbor. Being good at telling stories mattered more to your ancient ancestors than being good at catching food. And then comes the detail that should genuinely blow your mind. Researchers tracked reproductive success, how many children people actually had, against their storytelling skill. Skilled storytellers had, on average, more than half a child more than non-storytellers across their lifetime. That might sound small, but in evolutionary terms, it's enormous. It means storytelling ability was directly, measurably linked to reproductive success. Being able to hold a camp's attention with a good tale wasn't a fun bonus skill in ancient society. It was, in the most literal Darwinian sense, attractive, desirable, worth choosing as a life partner over someone who couldn't do it. So here's what's actually happening when you can't put down a book, or when you stay up too late finishing one more episode. You're not being weak-willed. You're not wasting time. You are experiencing the exact same neurological reward that made your ancestors choose certain people to live with, to trust, to have children with, for hundreds of thousands of years. Stories were never just entertainment. They were how strangers learned to trust each other without years of proof. They were how cooperation spread through groups too large for everyone to personally verify everyone else's character. A good story let one person's hard-earned wisdom about danger, about fairness, about loyalty, installed directly into another person's mind, instantly, without them ever having to live through the mistake themselves. Which means every time you finish a story and feel something shift in how you see the world, that's not your imagination being silly. That's 50,000 generations of finely tuned social technology working exactly as designed. Your ancestors didn't survive because they were the strongest, or even the smartest. They survived because they figured out how to download trust, cooperation, and hard-won wisdom directly into each other's minds, using nothing but firelight and a good story. So next time someone tells you stories are just entertainment, just a way to pass time, ask them this. Why does almost every human civilization on Earth, independently, completely disconnected from each other, end up sitting around something, a fire, a screen, a book, listening to someone tell them what happened to somebody else? What do you think your brain is actually getting out of it? Drop your theory below.